go, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know. Has that worked for you? I don't know. Let's have a check. Like for me,
Live.
it's not worked, but it may work for you. So let's stop and see. Is anyone looking at you? I can sing if you want.
Feel free to sing it. Oh no, wait,
I'm
no,
sure.
it's working. It's working.
Oh, can you see me?
I can see you in the. I can see you.
Look at my chin. Look at that. Get a bit of that in there.
I've got
Great
the
stuff.
live on Instagram and I've got the live on Restream, but Restream is doing the Instagram thing anyway, so it should be across both of them. Yes.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Beautiful gowns, babe. Beautiful gowns.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Let's
man.
do
So.
I don't know. Let me just see if my thing is saying to me like, "Oh, Dane is." Ah, look. This is Dane's gone live. Look at you. Look at you live. Fabulous stuff, darling. Can you see anything? I can just see you. I can just see you.
You can see, yes.
Enough,
For now.
to be honest, that's enough. That warms my heart on this wintry summer morning. So.
Window. Yes.
Wintry summer.
New window, please.
Summertime and the raindrops are falling. London's miserable and it's not coming home.
Easy, you know. Be easy. Terrible.
Laughs in Espanol. No,
the people are coming in. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Bienvenido, because in Spanish, I'm here to torment. Ça marche pas pour moi. C'est pas grave. Welcome to everybody that can see me. If you just see me chatting over, if you ask a question, I ignore you. I apologize. I can't see any comments. I don't know if people can even see me.
Right,
it could be,
again,
that Dane is just talking to himself.
No. People are joining. I've said people let us know where you are from. Thank you for joining. But yeah, the people are coming in. And
come in, people. Come in. There's nothing to do. It's raining outside. Just come in.
Everybody. Some of you are commiserating. Some of my hermanos and hermana are celebrating. And, bienvenidos and congratulations. And, yeah, pick up yourselves. But don't get too gassed, please, because we're still nursing the wounds. But we'll get into that later. Who's joined us now on the live too, the Lunchtime Live, myself, Dane Baptiste, and the home girl, Z. That's my cousin Jenny from London. Thank you for joining us on the live. Z, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for asking me that. Also, I'd just like to point out, just when you said that, I was like, I'm not your cousin Jenny. And I thought this was like a black cousin moment where we were like pretending to be related. I was like, why would you go for Jenny? Like, I mean, it's a great name, but I'm just like, that's not me. Yes. So I'm very well, thanks. I had a great weekend of like doing very little. Because I had a really tough week last week. And I say that with the knowledge of like how I live in like quite a privileged bubble. But I'm like, it was tough. I had to work and I went to the airport and whatever. So I spent the weekend doing as little as possible, which was great. And just preparing to be here, because this takes like a weekend of preparation to be with you, Dane. It's not something I could just do off the fly. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Listen, I always refer to people that will take the time to be patient with me is that, it's like almost having to come out with a whole new sexuality. It's a lifestyle change.
There you go.
Parents will understand. Like I can be, I won't say I'm laborious to work with, but there's labor involved in terms of understanding.
You know what? I'm not even gonna hold you. You tell them the truth, okay? So, how are you though? How are you?
Do you know what? I'm okay. It's been frustrating. You know what? Actually, let me be honest, because I want to move forward and be transparent with the audience here. I've been frustrated because obviously, I'm sure a lot of you will be more than aware of some of my legal troubles and some of my troubles in general. But the truth is that, like, I'm still on the roads for the foreseeable future, and will not be becoming a criminal anytime soon, despite the best efforts of a number of my peers and contemporaries. At the moment, I'm chasing some money. So prior to beginning on this wonderful journey alongside you, Z, I used to do my podcast, Dane Baptiste Questions Everything. And
okay. And now you're questioning where your money is.
I'm questioning where my money is because sometime in August in 2023, I had told my listeners that we could have a paywall and we would provide additional content for them if they were willing to, put some money towards a Patreon. And some of the gracious and very, very helpful listeners did donate some money. But it turns out that the Patreon, the paywall was set up without my knowledge, without my name being involved whatsoever. And since the end of my previous podcast, the other parties seem to be shuffling and wringing their hands about the whereabouts of this money. Now, I want people to know I'm not talking biggity big peas. It might even be only three figures, but the truth is that there's been
So
so
much.
opaqueness, so much opaqueness, so much so much deflection that I don't know how much money people pay towards that podcast, and now I'm having to chase that because people don't my teeth, they teeth up my money and try to teeth money.
Teeth, bitch, better
Yeah.
have my
So
money.
you are aware of the Dane Baptiste questions, everything
Get your money.
podcast. I want you to be aware that first of all, people involved tried to change the name of the podcast so they could steal the podcast from me, and are now funds from me from the paywall as well. And yeah, as well as restricting my access to the RSS channel so I can no longer put any more content. Or because I was like, are you guys doing your job properly? So they're proving that by doing a terrible job of their jobs.
You see that? You know what you should have done, Dane? You should have been like Ike Turner and been like, my daddy gave me that name. You're not changing nothing. My daddy gave me that name.
Well, it's funny because it just stands to demonstrate how much ego we deal with in the creative industry. That even though it's my name, people and this is a quote as well because as I was trying to find a new producer for the podcast, the new producer has made me aware that the previous producer was like, "Oh, Dane, he does nothing. He just shows up because his name's on it. Don't really do much work." So thinking that these people who respect my disposition intellectually and my body of work wouldn't tell me that while I was in Dubai, you went behind my back and tried to steal the podcast and told them I don't do no work. So that's one of the reasons why there is no Question Everything podcast. But we move on. I just wanted to be and make sure that anybody who supported that podcast over the 8 years is informed of what happened. And so I thank you guys. And yeah, man, we keep it moving and keep informing and keep providing a platform where we can have discussions outside of dating and colorism and the like. Because
if we can.
People are grown. But Z, I think that obviously domestically there's some hard times right now. People might want to discuss.
Hard times. Are we starting domestically or are we going international? Because I know that we have that capacity, Dane.
I think that capacity.
We're not limiting ourselves by geopolitical borders here.
We never have. And what we are going to do is make sure that we put geopolitics right in front of the face of these people who are normally marginalized and ignored by mainstream media. So if you consider yourself to be outside of what mainstream media caters to, then we are here for you. Acting locally but thinking globally, and I think we should take the game international today, Z, because madnesses have been going. We are in July, the US elections. What have you got for me, Mizzy?
We have got loads of stuff going on. So as you know, this is the year of elections, and I want to start because you said think globally and act locally, and you know I'm going to start and move outwards because I think it's better. You know, it's more organic that way. So obviously we've had our UK elections, we had the French elections going on. There was stuff going on in Belgium. We've seen in Europe there's been a shift to the right. They were like they got Beyonce's song wrong. They heard to the left, and they were like to the right. You know, France managed to pull it back somewhat, but didn't really quite get there. Belgium, Germany's not living by their history.
Stage, you know what I mean? Like to say Germany's going to be on a right wing.
Germany's like,
how far away could they
be? We not our grandparents, but like in a bad way because we're gonna not learn from them. Whatever. Germany's doing her own thing. Guten Tag, innit? But that's the only thing I know in German, so that's what it's like. Guten Tag. I don't even know what that means, but it seems to fit. So Germany was doing their own thing.
Good day, no blacks.
But there you go. That's what they meant. Good day for us, though. Good day for us. Okay, not for you. Okay.
For uns, but for Dick. Volkspartag.
Oh, not dicks. Wow. Okay, we're bringing out all the phallic things now. So, speaking of that, okay, there are some dicks across the pond that we're going to speak about. Not personally, because I don't have experience with those things. Do I, Mum? But what I was going to say is we'll bring it over to the US elections. Now, initially, when we had discussed this, now you may not realize this, young listeners, but we were initially going to do this on Friday, but Dane had to bus case, so we decided to postpone it a little bit, and we're here. Yeah, right, free my DEI Dane. Yeah. That's what we're going to call you, DEI Dane. So free my DEI Dane. So Dane had to bus case on Friday, so I was like, you know what? Lunes. Let's do it on Lunes. After that, we can celebrate or commiserate, obviously, with domestic things going on. So we're here. So on Friday, I was going to do Biden Watch. Yeah, I was going to be like, let me talk about Joe, Genocide Joe, see what's going on. And then Trump said, bitch, ain't talking about him and not talking about me. So I'm going to try and do both very concisely. Now, I have been getting some flack for speaking on Genocide Joe. And I want to say this very clearly before we get into it, before I get more flack, because I don't mind flack. I grew up in South London, like, do what you need to do in it. But I just want to say this clearly. I am not for 1 second suggesting that the Republicans are a viable or wanted option for the US as a domestic thing, I believe, or even internationally. All I am saying is that you are setting yourself up for failure if you have somebody as your leader that looks like he needs help to go to the toilet. That's all I was saying. And so Genocide Joe, he's been out here. He's obviously been making gaffes. He tried to sit down at like the D-Day thing when there was no chair. He's just like, he's forgetting something. He referred to himself as a black woman recently.
You said gaff, yeah. Here's me thinking he's going to be stumbling over his words and making an incorrect reference to somebody.
Yeah, no, he wants to sit down.
Down when there's no chair.
And you know what? I get that because sometimes, you know, when you're like at carnival and you've been drinking and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, is there a chair? Like, and you try to sit down or whatever, and then you kind of madly secure a wine because someone is lower than you and whatever, and you're like, oh, actually, I just wanted to sit down, and they're just really good. I think that's maybe his mind was there.
I've had a substantial amount of Ray and Nephew, which is not just a rum, it's an overproof rum. Not only is it an overproof rum, it's an overproof rum called Ray and Nephew. When Ray made it, he was so drunk, he was like, me and my nephew will make it. And they were like, what's your nephew's name? Me don't know that. Nephew.
I don't know. Nephew Com.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a name at this point. You just need to know the familial tie. Okay.
When I drink something like overproof rum, it reminds me of the horrors that were suffered by my ancestors and your ancestors during chattel slavery. Because
and does that make you want to sit down, Dane?
It makes you want to sit down. It also allows me to sterilize any wounds I may have incurred. And so it makes...
Okay, so I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Because what I'm thinking is that let me add 2 and 2 and get 7. I think that maybe that's what happened. Joe had a bit of Ray and Nephew, you know what I mean? Like he wanted some Dutch courage or whatever. And he was like, let me see, there was a seat here before, you know. Let me sit down a little bit. Jill, where the seat them? And that's probably what happened. Right? Jill, let me seat them. I just said, shut up, Joe, shut up. Then people left, like, that's what happened, right? So that's what happened there. And we were like, oh, you know what? Everyone wants to sit down. It's tiring, rare. Then he went to NATO. And this was crucial because he had his debate with Trump and it didn't really go well. He was just making up words, putting them in the wrong place. And he was like, you know what? Everyone gets things wrong consistently within a 90-minute debate. Like everyone uses the wrong words. I don't know who everyone is, but apparently they get things wrong all the time. So NATO was that next time that he was on the big stage and he was like, yeah, right, I'm going to show you. I'm 81, but switch it around. I could be 18. Bam. He gets up there and he's doing okay. I'm not going to say he's doing well. He's doing okay. Okay, he hasn't wet himself. Like he seems to be following things. He looks a bit more alive. Like, you know, like on a game, his battery would be at like 35% and not 5%. Like he was doing okay.
I'd say he was on low power mode.
Lower. Okay, you know what?
20%. It was like low power mode.
I'm going to be more generous because I saw him in the debate and I was like, you know what? Hello, look at you. You did well. And then he's like, yeah, we're going to crush Putin. And you know, all that war talk, they love all that. And then Zelensky's off to his side and he goes, I'm going to introduce you to the president of Ukraine, President Putin. And Zelensky's face was like, this motherfucker just called me Putin. And then he goes, oh no, sorry, wait. I was so, we're going to kill Putin. That's what I meant. We're going to kill Putin. And this is Zelensky. Like,
the ops is on my mind. I can't sleep without thinking about the ops. That's why I said,
like, Rob, like these men are on my brain, did it? Like that. So he tried to grab that back, and it was a good catch. Like I don't know if he had something in his ear, and he was like, "Oh shit, I said the wrong one, didn't I?" And like, you know what? I could just imagine him at home going, "Ukraine, President Zelensky, President," and then he gets there and it's Putin, and like, you know what? Whatever. So that was going to be what I was talking about, and then the king of political violence in our era has incited and been involved in what people are calling political violence. And I won't say a lot about this. I'm not going to say a lot about this because I'm going to leave Mr. Donald who ducked, to you, okay? Because that's what they said, the SS, like, Donald Duck, and then he just went down and whatever. I'm going to leave that to you. I have seen you know what I have noticed though? I've been on Twitter and I've been noticing like all of the the gun talk in America. And like, you know, when something just, I don't know about you, but this is just way over my head. They're like, actually, a 22 bullet from an IFR. And I'm like, what the fuck are these people? And I just realized, like, gun culture in America is insane. Like, it's in the way that people are like, well, I've been shooting since I was born. Like, since I came out with an AK-47 and I shot up my dad. Like, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but not really. Like, if you heard about an obstetrician dying while, you know, delivering a baby, that would probably be the baby with the gun. They probably have many ones that made out for them. So there's all this gun talk about whether like it could have blown off his ear. And I'm not going to get into everything. Like, I'm going to leave that to you. But one thing that I will say is I do think that this irony now in saying, oh, let's like condemn political violence and there's no place for it. And I think I saw a video just recently saying this, where I think it was like this morning, saying like political violence is already here. Because I'm old enough to remember that, you know, the 6th of January happened and, you know, you were storming Capitol Hill. I'm also old enough to remember that there's college students that are literally protesting about political violence. Like, what do you think all of these things that are going on in the Middle East and all of the, that is political violence. So all of a sudden saying, oh my God, he looks like he's got ketchup in his ear, we don't like political violence. Also coming from somebody that without, like, unequivocally, like, says that he endorses violence. Like, unequivocally has stood up there and said, I remember when we used to, you know, like, the police are too gentle. Like, are you kidding, bruv? Chat shit get banged, innit? Sorry. And like, for me, I just feel like there's this whole thing where the right are very happy. Even now, they're still threatening. Yeah, civil war. They're like, oh, if you'd got our man, and you know they're getting hard, innit? Like, oh, you libtards, if you were 1 inch from civil war and you wouldn't have, you like that. Yeah, listen, not for me. I'm on the left. But if you left it to me, you would feel some blows too. So for me, I'm one of those people that I'm like, bro, chat shit, get banged in it. Like, it just is what it is. The game is the game. You be all right, B. You tough, right?
You tough.
So
Presidents get
that's
shot.
what I would say. You're right, D. You'll be all right, D. You tough, right? Orange people get shot every day, B. So I'm going to leave it to you. I'm not going to comment too much on this, but I do find...
Not too much.
Not too much, exactly. I'm not going to comment too much on this. I just wanted to say that because I just wanted to also draw your attention to the fact that we're now in this point where we have somebody that apparently had somebody attempt to kill them, and he's such a ridiculous character that people don't believe it. Like, immediately. We haven't even waited because immediately no people don't believe it. And so do you believe it, Mr. Baptiste? What do you think?
Very, very good question. It's a tough one. I'll be honest with you. It really is a tough one. I think that the fact that staged is one of the terms that has been trending on Elon Musk's X, which really should be called KKK, has been, because that is the letters that should be used, really. But it's been trending that I believe it was staged. And obviously, America's, I won't say gun lobby, but I guess America's collective consciousness regarding firearms have had a lot of debate about how, as you said, a 22 caliber bullet wouldn't do a lot more damage to somebody's ear as it whizzed past being fired from an AR-15, which is, I think, America's most popular submachine gun.
I don't know, babes. I just don't know.
The thing is, again, being a hip hop fan and obviously paying attention to US politics, you begin to pick up quite a bit about firearms. So, for example, you mentioned the AK-47, which is a Kalashnikov, which probably wouldn't be used because it is a Soviet rifle. However, what is used is the miniature version, which is a Draco, which you'll hear being referred to a number of times, particularly in like trap music and by Atlanta rappers who use the Draco. AR-15 is actually a miniature version of the M16, which is actually a military grade rifle, which is standard issue for America's armed forces and was used during Vietnam. And, I bring up what I've been told by Americans, and this is like me paraphrasing, is that if you get shot by a 22 caliber bullet, it's pretty much a pea shooter. And if you do arrive at a hospital still breathing, it's likely that based on their historic competence with treating gunshot wounds, you will survive. Here is a quick tip in terms of Americans and firearms, is that I believe there are 393 million weapons in circulation in the United States. I think there is enough ammunition to kill every person in the United States 4 times. And And I also believe that most bullets were of 22 caliber, and it wasn't until the Black Panthers exercised their Second Amendment rights to bear arms that the Special Weapons and Tactics division of the police was created. So a militarized version of the police was created.
Mhm.
There was the introduction of higher caliber bullets because, and also due to the fact that when cocaine was still legal, a lot of longshoremen, men that used
Mm.
to use it to improve their productivity, and obviously a lot of those men were being black. And the police worked out that if I try and kill a black man or kill an innocent black man with a 22 caliber bullet, might not bring him down if he's under the influence. And that's when they started introducing 38 caliber bullets as well.
Mm.
Quick
Can I
aside,
just ask, is that also when they stopped putting cocaine in coke? Because I mean, I feel like they need to probably bring that back just for a little while, just to get us through this next period of our lives.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why they wouldn't. But then at the same time, as easy it is to secure coke, why do that when you can just have Prozac, which is just as powerful? But then no one can patent cocaine. So let's see what coke does. I mean, from what I hear, they got themselves moving like cartels in Mexico anyway. But let's not digress. Anyone who's paying attention will know that there appears to have been an alleged or reported assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, which he has survived with a graze in the ear. Secret Service, however, apparently were told several times that there was a sniper on the roof for a very long time and nobody addressed it. Donald Trump remains slightly scathed but relatively unharmed. However, it seems that one person was killed during the attempt, and there are two people who attended the MAGA rally who are now in critical condition. Who would have thought you go somewhere where you're like, all it takes is for one to stop one bad guy with a gun. There's a couple good guys with guns and a couple, well, who knows how good they are, but they still end up getting shot in it. However, yeah, there seems to be a lot of discourse, particularly online, about I suppose, the genuine nature of this assassination attempt, especially because it comes around the same time that following the release of the Epstein files, Donald Trump has been allegedly implicated in taking part in alleged essaying of two women who at the time were under the age of 13. And according to said allegations, he essayed one of these girls and then threw money in her face, insisting that she get an abortion after refusing to use protection himself, which obviously has not boded well for his poll numbers. And following this assassination attempt, his image has again become lionized and he's being pedestalized by the right. Although it does transpire that the person that has currently been accused of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump is actually a man called Thomas Matthew Crooks, who is a registered
Crook by name, crook by nature.
there you go, who was himself an outcast, surprisingly, who was always teased about his appearance and not able to join clubs in school and have much success with girls, and has also been bullied in his youth. I guess what I'm trying to say is he's straight, he's white, he's straight and white, straight, white. He must be a lone wolf. So
There we go.
there you go. Acting alone, doing it himself. But some footage has actually surfaced about the fact that he had designated himself to be a vigilante fighting against the horrors conducted by Epstein on his island and with the use of his Lolita Express. And this is what he may have attributed as the reason for the assassination attempt. But we'll never know because Secret Service officials eliminated the threat of Thomas Crooks. And so we won't be able to get any more information from him. I should make it a point of principle that what you're not supposed to do is lionize any of these would-be assassins or people that engage in these acts of political violence. But as you say, Z, it's very strange that people are so alarmed by political violence taking place in America, where we have had a number of presidents from JFK, an attempt on Ronald Reagan's life, obviously now a former president attempt, anthrax being sent to White House
Remember those days? Yeah.
administration, and and also supposedly a previous attempt on Donald Trump's life back in 2017. However, the reaction by Secret Service was very different. They weren't on their P's and Q's, considering there's been a previous assassination attempt. And upon jumping on the former president, rather than escorting him away from the rally immediately, there was a slight pep talk, and then he was given the opportunity to stand back up in full view of any other would-be snipers and be like, fight, fight. Now,
also that he had the time to get his shoes as well. He was like, wait, let me get my shoes.
As normally when people start shooting, you hear people go, wait, I'm not leaving here without my shoes. Are you?
Definitely.
And then go and fight, because as we all recall, in MLK's assassination, or first attempted assassination, when he was stabbed in the neck with an envelope opener, he turned around and said, everybody fight.
You gotta fight. And I'm joking.
This has created a massive furor in America. We've heard from Melania Trump,
she's come out of the woodwork, has she?
Yeah, to call for peace and to an end of division in this country. Now, whether Trump wrote this statement, because I've not heard Melania Trump's voice or even seen her lips move in over half a decade, seeing as she did insist on not spending the president's tenure at the White House in the same house as him, which I find very interesting for a first lady to be like, one thing I'm not going to do, first of all, as a lady, is stay in the same house as my husband. Which, sounds encouraging for a president who is representing a heritage foundation that's going to emphasize the nuclear American Christian family. And that is a point that I wanted to discuss as well, is that prior to this alleged assassination attempt, Donald Trump, as well as trying to distance himself from the Epstein files that were recently released, was also trying to distance himself from the accusations that he is working alongside the Heritage Foundation to usher in a whole new autocratic political structure within the United States, which comes under the term Project 2025. Those of you who are in the live right now, are we all aware of Project 2025?
No, Jane, tell us what it means.
Well, if you don't know, you need you definitely need to know. So for anyone who's not clued up about 2025, let me tell you what they've got planned for you. Because I know there's some of you out here that definitely support Donald Trump. So just so you are
what kind of followers do you have, Dane?
Listen, this is not me, I'm just saying in general that there are Trump followers.
Okay.
I mean, look, if there's any American white women following him, there's a 55% chance that they would have voted for Donald Trump. So there's that. Also, there's some Nigerians that follow me. I said it. So, and there's a lot of people that are identify as Nigerian who are also Trump supporters because they think he is trying to bring back Christian values. And that's
Christian it. Values. How many wives has he had? How many baby mamas he got?
I think it's 4.
Okay.
Well, that's the ones that didn't get abortion money. So the idea is that a sect within the GOP have plans for America if Trump is re-elected, which come under the term Project 2025. And I want to say this now before anybody questions it. This is not a joke. This has been researched on a number of outlets, as well as looking at the literature that has been produced by the Heritage Foundation themselves, as well as Wikipedia. So I want to cover everything. So it includes the defunding of government external organizations such as the FBI and ATF to give largely complete autocratic powers to the president. So if the president says, I want to grab your wife's pussy, and you say no, then he will have a squad sent over to your house to make sure that that pussy can get grabbed same way. I think also Secret Service leading the health hearings where there was allegations of Russian interference in America's elections. Maybe as an act of revenge, Donald Trump is being like, from now on, you ask to me, you'll be defunded. And what you won't be doing is investigating any reports of me showing up on any lists from any low lead expresses. There will also be changes to immigration, very strict changes where there will be absolutely no rights whatsoever for anyone who has become an American citizen under birther laws. And there will be no clemency granted for any asylum seekers or victims of sex or people trafficking. That is your business. The border goes up. He's building a wall, and you lot aren't getting through it. And this wall promises to be much stricter than Genocide Joe's, and will also delegate powers to new border patrols that will replace the FBI, preventing people from crossing over from Central America. The Project 2025 also includes a banning of abortion on a nationwide basis with the complete repealing of Roe versus Wade. So if you do get pregnant, even if it's a result of you being essayed, even by a family member, you will not be able to terminate that pregnancy, or you will risk being tried for murder or being imprisoned as a woman. And they also want to have nationwide bans on access to birth control for American citizens. So if you are aware of, the old house maidens something,
Handmaiden's Tale.
Handmaiden's Tale. That's it. Well, I say housemaiden because obviously a lot of people, particularly Western European feminists, are outraged at the idea of the restriction of sexual and reproductive rights from women. Well, let me introduce you to motherfucking slavery. That's why I said.
Tell them.
If you think this thing is new for you. Project 2025 also wants to close the Environmental Protection Agency, get rid of climate controls and end the use or the pursuit of research into renewable energy, and to stop this persecution of the oil and petrochemical industries, which, as you may have seen from Hurricane Beryl, has boded very well, because last time I checked, Houston may or may not still be without power following Hurricane Beryl being reduced to a Category 2 hurricane and going inland in the States. That should go well. There will be a nationwide pornography ban and a ban on any technology that allows access to adult materials for American citizens. And not only will you be able to have sex for anything other than reproducing, you also won't be able to simulate it, which can only bode well for one of the biggest pornography markets on the planet, other than Japan. There will be the re-establishment of Christian nationalism, a ban on all critical race theory and DEI initiatives or affirmative action initiatives that exist, and a removal of any negative connotations towards slavery from American history curricula throughout America's education system. So basically, we like slavery. That didn't happen. Black people like it here because they get to pray and dance, shut your mouth and eat your watermelon is what that basically means. A full expansion of presidential powers, impunity, complete immunity from prosecution, no matter what you do, and full autocratic powers being given to the president, essentially making the president into king and having a theocracy under Christian nationalism, where, you know, the whole 1776 thing and the whole War of Independence in America means nothing because your president will now rule you like a king. Also, end of Affordable Care Act, end of Medicare, so as to address the issue of single motherhood in the United States, and for people, big pharma to be undercut by Medicare. And finally, and this is me just glancing over what is included in Project 2025. If you consider yourself to be LGB and you wanted to distance yourself from the T, like a lot of people do, such as TERFs, well, good luck, because there will be a removal of any trans rights, pro-trans initiatives, gender therapy, or any rights of LGBT nature whatsoever. So if you are not cis, het, and not Christian, and pretty much not white, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're fucked. Depending on how you do this. But, you know, considering that all of the things aforementioned seem like exactly the way that society is set up in Afghanistan, which was a point of principle for the invasion of Afghanistan back in 2001. It doesn't sound great. It's going to be
It doesn't sound great. It doesn't sound great. And may I just add, because I think when people hear these things, and there was a lot of information that you just gave, Dane, it was a lot, right? I'm not saying anything, all of it I know to be true. But one of the things is that people can get information overload, and they're like, well, this couldn't possibly happen. So obviously this is something that's kind of like a manifesto, but it's been put forward by the Heritage Foundation. And Trump has tried to distance himself from it. He's tried to be like, well, that's nothing to do with me. That's some other guys, despite the fact that like 20 or something, like a huge number of the authors or people that were involved in it were actually active in when he was in government and are, you know, very close advisors as it is. But one of the things that I want people to realize is that these type of things have been happening for a very long time. So the right has been playing the long game. So when you hear about gerrymandering and gerrymandering, yes, I said that right. Gerrymandering, when they've been changing the boundaries for voting and stuff like that, this is a game the right has been playing strategically for decades in order to get their candidates in. Even the long game that they played with the Supreme Court, when, you know, like, you know, RBG. Oh, can you see me? My thing's frozen.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, cool. When RBG, she didn't quit, and that was a gift to the right. That was a gift to them because she didn't quit. She then died when Trump was in office, and so they replaced her with a right, you know, I can't remember which one, but it was a Supreme Court justice that would just vote for this kind of nonsense and whatever. So, but what people need to understand is if you go into it, and this is not like conspiracy theory thing, this is not like, oh, maybe, they will admit it. There are strategists and people that have been in place for decades in different areas trying to slightly change the boundaries for voting and whatever because of the way that the electoral colleges work in order to get their candidates in power and to get these things pushed through. The problem with the left is that people like to argue too much on the left. they argue too much in between themselves. Whereas the right, one thing I respect about the evil right is that they know that the important thing is to be in power. You can't do anything unless you're in power. The left are quite happy to be this kind of moral opposition where they argue with each other, and there's like some certain amount of virtue signaling and whatever else like that. The important thing is,
we'll support BLM if you turn a blind eye to genocide.
Yeah, there's all of this kind of and we'll argue amongst each other, but that's why they never get in power. That's like essentially, because even with this whole recent thing with Starmer getting into power, right? So Starmer gets into power, and everyone's like, yeah, like he's had this landslide. He's had a landslide because he's had like 32% of the people that actually voted then eventually voted for him or whatever, which wasn't a huge majority or whatever, if you think about it in terms of the people that can elect people in this country. The thing is if people on the left had got their act together when Jeremy Corbyn was there, we could have got someone into power ages ago, because actually he had much more mass appeal if you think about the number of people that actively voted for him. But he had to deal with not only the right and the Tories and whatever, but he also had to deal with that from within his party. Now, if he was so unpopular, it was actually a prime position for him to get in as leader and be replaced within his own party, because he had something that was, he went across the party and got people from, tried to bring everyone together. Stum hasn't done that. Stum has purged the left and got into power this way. Whether he can hold it or not, I don't know. But I don't think that...
And replaced them with very right-wing views as well. Like,
100%, because he's now occupying what Macron has done in France, is this extreme centre position. It's not a left position. Like, there's some things where he'll be like, oh yeah, it's fine, we like the blacks and we like the gays and we like the whatever. They'll do that kind of thing. And like, but actually, do their policies support that? Do they think, like, even now when he's coming in with these new initiatives, a lot of it sounds like the old PFI that Tony Blair had. You know what I mean? Like this appeal to businesses and whatever. So we use the term left, and I think that just gives like comfort to people, like kind of a certain demographic of kind of white liberal and even some upwardly mobile black people that are like, oh well, like no, it's fine, it's on the left because we didn't try to criminalize homeless people. But like, okay, but a lot of the policies, if they're just pro-business or whatever, what is the real difference? Because you're still kind of acting on this basis that trickle-down economics works when it doesn't, when it's been proven not to work. Sorry, I've just gone on a rant there.
But it's true, because obviously what they're not going to be offering is anything less than unlimited liability for like small business owners and the rest of it, or providing the infrastructure that would allow for people that vote for Labour to take advantage of any left-leaning or socialist initiatives. But yeah, I do realise that was quite a verbose part of the live. But what I'm basically trying to say to people is that with Project 2025, if you want to go to America and you're a Muslim, that ain't happening. If you think that children being locked up in cages and being deported is a problem, too bad. If you want to go to America and your partner is there and you want to stay there, or you want to stay because you was born in America and your parents are immigrants, that's not going to happen either. If you have been able to receive a job due to historic discrimination, you're not getting that job. And that doesn't mean like you've been told that, affirmative action only helps black people. Affirmative action has helped for women and the Asian diaspora to be able to have preferential positions in American society. And that is going to go. That's all going to go. And as I said, you will have no access to any kind of prophylactics or birth control. And as I said, if anyone suffers any SA, then they'll have to bring the child to term. So, which runs concurrently with white replacement theory, which has been pitched around by the same right wing in order to realize their power. So, yeah. And whether or not this will happen now, Donald Trump was trying to distance himself from this, even though one of his campaign managers is a part of the Heritage Foundation and he is inextricably linked to it, allegedly. He's now trying to distance himself, whereas now I guess he can lean into his new persona as being a martyr for making it great again. And we'll see how it goes. But, a lot of people don't seem to be particularly fooled. America, since Donald Trump's first election, has become a place of post-truth. Ever since Kellyanne Conway introduced the term alternate facts, you can't believe whatever happens within the political sphere of America to be true at all. So who knows how that's going to go? But keep tuning into the live. We'll definitely keep you updated, at which point, you need to leave the proverbial beer garden or duck out of the pub when things go a bit deep for us as fellow. So the you FBAs out there, you African descendants of slavery, who have been also equally opposed to immigration from Caribbeans as well as continental Africans. Well, the clocks are going to go back. Let's hope you guys are okay.
Can I just say something? Because this is one of my favorite topics when I'm trying to annoy people, right? So I'd be on Twitter and I'd be annoying the blacks. Hey blacks, I'm black too. I'm the same. But FBAs are like my worst genre of black people. Like one of my worst. Honestly, they really just like, dude. And you know what it is, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. So if you don't know what FBA stands for, you're on the live and you're like, what does that mean? I believe it means Foundational Black Americans, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, there are a proportion of these people that don't claim to be of African descent. They're like, we were native to this land. We were here before. Native people aren't Indians, like you've been told. It was us. It was these DEIs, and we were here, and we are the indigenous people to this land because they got Indian in them. Anyway, so cool for them. I not that it's not up to me, but I don't really have an issue. I don't see a huge issue with American black people, and I'm not talking about like Caribbean Americans or like Nigerian Americans or whatever, but like American black people saying we are an ethnicity. Like if you want to, like, I'm here for self-determination and all of that kind of stuff. But here's the thing, right? And for those that do admit that they were like, descendants of enslaved Africans, here's the thing about the transatlantic slave trade that they may not realize. It wasn't necessarily a case that people got picked up from West Africa and then they got on a boat and they went over to America and they ended up in Alabama and then they were just there. Like, and then they just bred out for the next couple of generations. It was called transatlantic and international chattel slavery because people were moved around. Like you went from here to the West Indies to this to that, and so actually finding that lineage and trying to make out you're so unique and so separate isn't really true. I've got a case in point. A good friend of mine, her grandfather is Jamaican. She has a picture of him he's Jamaican, a picture of him in America sharecropping at the turn of when slavery just ended, because that's how people moved around there. So this idea of like some pure-blooded, oh no, I descend directly from West Africa and went there and nothing happened. Because at the same breath, they'll tell you this, we've got this pure lineage, but they'll also tell you about, oh, well, they had these breeding houses and they had these other things and, all of these other things that disrupt family, which are completely true. So what you're saying doesn't make sense, because how then do you split it out? How then do you decide who is Black American enough? Or do you understand what I mean? Because our histories are more interlinked than you believe.
I understand what you mean. And I would say what I would put it down is to the state of the American education system, and that there is division that has been driven between us and other members of the diaspora for a long time. What I'll say is this: I don't know where this idea online originated that we all look down upon African Americans. Nobody does that. I wasn't even aware there's a clear distinction. But to any FBAs or descendants of slavery who look down at Caribbeans or don't consider us to be the same as you, Marcus Garvey is Jamaican, Stokely Carmichael is from Trinidad, Malcolm X is from Grenada, Biggie Smalls is from Jamaica. So, I don't.
And that's the thing as well. All of these people that act like, and I just think it's so reductive. And again, fine, you want to carve out your niche and you want to say, like, all of these things are all absolutely fine. But this idea of just like railing against, and there is always going to be friction. We know in this country that there was friction when after Windrush, and then there was now, I think, the biggest, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but actually the biggest proportion of the Black community, I think, is probably from continental Africa or descendants of continental Africa, whereas it never used to be the case. So there was obviously, there was obviously changes that took place there and within the Black community, like there was kind of friction or whatever. And I'm sure, like American Africans, I don't know how you would say it because they're not African American, but like American people that were from, their parents are from continental Africa, they had stories of, being bullied and whatever else like that. And like, so all of those things happen, but like I believe there becomes a point where actually there is another culture that's created, and that's where you get Creoles from if you think about language. So in this country, we have a Black British culture. It isn't an American culture. It isn't really a Caribbean culture. It's a it's influenced by the experience and the unique set experience that Black people in this country had. And it may have parts that reflect or look like those things and could have come from there, but it's come together to be its own thing. And I think America has that as well. But like, in a way, it can vary between states, but they have cultures that are their own thing because of the influences that would have been from the people that come there. And that's okay to recognize that, because if you put them all under the banner of a, like a Black culture, it's just like saying you sound British. Well, there's no British accent. There are many British accents. So there isn't one black culture. There are many black cultures. And, you know, we like to say black people are not a monolith, but the whole thing with this idea that, and I've had this before because people have been like, well, you don't understand, our ancestors were enslaved. And I was like, bro, do you know what my second name is? okay, because I swear it's like Nordic or something like this. And none of my family look like, you know, they're from Sweden or something like this. So I just had to say something about FBS because every time I see them online, I just do as much as I can to irritate them. And that's on me. That's on me. That's my toxic trait.
Listen, it's got to be said. We are not here. We're as far as the diaspora wars are concerned, we are pacifists, and we want to open up the floor to have discussions with the American members of the diaspora as well as continental Africans. I mean, myself personally, I want to hear about the experience of Afro-Australians as well as people that might be from Pacific Island as well. Anyone who considers themselves to be politicized and racialized as black, we're trying to observe unity, and that also includes those of you who are racialized as white as well. We're not doing exclusion here. So we welcome the engagement because at the end of the day, everybody likes to go and floss in Dubai and the UK, irrespective of where they're from, because they don't feel like second-class citizens. We don't holiday where we're from that often. Now, that's a very clumsy segue.
It was very clumsy, but I saw where you're going, so I let it go.
Because at the end of the day, we all complain about hard times, but everyone seems to be flossing when they're in Dubai, innit? So we're not all doing terribly. I say this because we know that Dubai is a haven for people that want to display their wealth, free of fear of that wealth being lifted off their wrists or their necks or their feet, or out of cars like they would experience in some of these supposed developed Western countries. But the question is everything roses if you do relocate to a Gulf state, which is rich in oil and cosmopolitan in nature? Because it's not always the case. In fact,
absolutely.
Had a story from the 12th of July where initially a cabin crew member of Emirates, Tori Towie, a Irish, an Irish native herself, was arrested in Dubai for a suicide attempt. Since we received the story, she has been released and returned to Ireland. However, following her arrest for an attempted suicide, Tori Towie initially had her passport destroyed and had a travel ban and was imprisoned because suicide attempts are not legal in the United Arab Emirates. But she was able to be contacted by the Irish equivalent of the consulate and the Prime Minister. There was interactions between the government, the Emirati government, and Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald, who was able to allow her to travel. It does turn out Tori Towie was unfortunately the victim of domestic violence and felt like there is no framework in place in the Emirates which was allowed to help her, and saw no other option but to attempt to take her life, sadly. And but yeah, luckily, alhamdulillah, if you will, she's made it back home. But yeah, we bring it up because obviously those of you who are watching Instagram Live will know whenever you see people showing Dubai life, especially on Insta, these other socials, everything seems blessed, but very clearly beneath the shimmering veneer of opulence and wealth and good times where Beyonce can get a milli just for doing a couple tunes, then things aren't great because in the case of Tori, she felt so desperate and had no access to any resources to protect women who are victims of domestic violence that she contemplated taking her own life.
Yeah.
So
and I think it is really crazy, and I think it's one of the things that shows you like the amount of like the lack of safety there is for women just generally. Because if you think about like the thread of this, and this hasn't been intentional, but the thread of this conversation, we've spoken about the US, for example. We've spoken about Project 2025, which hugely will set like women back hugely in terms of reproductive rights and just even, you know, talks of gender equality or whatever else like that, that they were saying that those phrases are going to be stricken and whatever. Then you kind of roll it forward and we're now talking about Dubai, and you're thinking about like how, you know, she was so isolated and, you know, felt that there was nowhere to turn, that this was the only option for her. And then if we're going to kind of bring it forward, and we will get to discuss this like properly, but after the results from yesterday, so many people were putting out things to say, look, if you're in a situation where you're experiencing domestic violence, here's a number that you can call, because we know, for example, after England lose, the attempts or like the rates of domestic violence go up significantly. And I think it's just very
38%.
sad that.
38. Sorry to cut you. So it goes up 38.
No,
Oh, even more. Because I heard that it might go up by as much as 38% when they lose, and
wow.
And then 26% when they win or draw.
There you go. And do you understand what I mean? Like, it's a very unintentional, weird, like, thread that we have throughout this. We've gone from the US to Dubai and back here. And actually, there's like a real question around this safety and what's done about it. And I think there's always this focus, the Dubai case in particular, you know, this focus on the victim. Like, you know, she's done this. She's felt no other option. And she's taken this very drastic route, hasn't succeeded in that, and now has been victimized again, and now has been punished again. And, you know, to a lesser or more or lesser degree, there's like it's iterations of it in different places. What are you laughing? I can't see the comments, by the way.
Sorry, there is someone in the group called Trips 24 Hour who said that you black people made us miss out on another final, which I guess is him trying to troll and be funny. But I don't know if he was paying attention there, buddy, but we were in the final. So I don't know what the idea.
Good, and we'll do it again. We'll make you miss every final. What?
And then he said, my black friend cut his toe off because of England. Okay. So
he cut his toe off because you're his friend and he don't like you.
I mean, I think what's clear is that Trips 24 doesn't have any friends, and that's okay, buddy. We do welcome the engagement, and you know, if you are somebody of a certain age that's still trying to troll on this page, I do appreciate it.
Troll away.
You're also going to tag Tommy.
I guess his friend can't stand 10 toes.
He's also said tag Tommy Robinson, and has gone on to tag Tommy Robinson, but has misspelled Tommy Robinson's name. So
but racists can't spell. That's like a rule. If you look at all racist commentary, their spelling's bad.
But he wrote it the first time correctly, and then because so gassed to try and derail the conversation that he wrote it again and forgot to spell his name correctly, which for me is completely on brand. And I'll let everybody I'll let everybody know now in this live, you're not going to hear me put down Tommy Robinson in here, because I'm not sure if you know this, but all the money he got in donations from think tanks and other political donors, he spent that on cocaine and hoes. And cocaine, there's nothing wrong with that cocaine spending for me, because you guys are like, Tommy's going to help us, he's going to change this country, and he took your money and spent that on prostitution.
What country is he going to change? Isn't he Irish?
I think who knows? He might change Hungary, because I know he likes to let them get them from Budapest. So there'll be Eastern European countries he changes with the money he spent on sex workers. So shout out Tommy Robinson for keeping the EU.
Shout out to Stephen Yaxley Lennon, actually the Irish guy that got arrested in Canada. Okay, so shout out to him.
So back to it, as you were saying, is that like
So anyway, back to the football that the Blacks made us not get to the final of.
we should move on talking about that, because I feel like we can't wrap up this live without talking about the results of the Euro Championship 2024, which were a wonderful distraction from the UK's foreign policy. However, you may argue, and I've heard this several times on social media, not saying I'm saying it before you want to start trolling, but if you do want to troll, that's your business anyway. But
I said it. I love a good trolling.
People saying that, the previous competition, the racist vitriol that was suffered by the black members of the team is the reason why you're going to win, because racists can't have nice things and bigotry does never end well for you guys. And in this instance, some people are saying because Spain recognizes that Palestine is a country that is currently experiencing manufactured famine and genocide, whereas England continues to supply weapons and arms to Israel, might be the reason why more divine forces stepped in again and stopped England from winning the Euros.
Who knows?
But I'm just saying, if you're going to do a heavel, sometimes the fastest and Jar will wait until you are this close to winning, take it away. And I'm just saying,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I would
also say that there's actually a little glimmer of hope for the UK, or the England in particular, because I did see the other day a video of, because Spain is like the second UK home, like all the immigrants, English immigrants, that's where they go to live. They actually, I shit you not, do orange marches in Spain. They were orange marching. If you don't know, people, orange marching is it takes place in Northern Ireland as well, and it's it's a unionist thing, right? It's a unionist thing where they want to be part of the UK. So you're in a Catholic country doing your little Protestant marches. That's a win for you, because if you're claiming that as your country, well, guess what? Your country just won the Euros, babes. Your country just won the Euros. So there you go.
Basically, it's a settler colonist parade where you your freedom to practice your own religion and freedom of assembly and freedom of expression in a country that you don't want to be a part of, and you flaunt in their face.
And if you're wondering, just sorry to cut you down, but if anyone's wondering what those people marching look like, yes, they looked exactly like that.
Exactly as you'd imagine. Look.
Yeah, what you think they look like, that's what they look like.
Being said, we want to finish on a light note, and you want to be cussing the whole time. As one of the lads, I've got to say that unfortunately for England, we wasn't able to. I shouldn't say we, because I'm going to be on LBC and someone's going to remind me, like David Lammy, that I'm not Anglo-Saxon. So they did very well. When I say we, I'm actually referring to the members of the diaspora who were integral to Britain's success. So shouts out to men like Jude Bellingham and man like Cole Palmer, Starboy, Mr. Bukayo Saka, Izzy Ebery, who did put in a great shift when he was allowed to play. Ollie Watkins, who actually got England to the final in the match against the Netherlands. Ivan Toney, who should have come on a lot earlier for Foden and or Kane, but that's up for pundits to discuss. I'm not here to discuss them things there too much. But again, I think one thing we can say about the performance of England's players is that England as a footballing entity will have to wake up to the fact that all of these other countries, through their embrace of their immigrant populations, have observed success. Whereas the last time England won a trophy was 1966, when Martin Luther King was alive and the Civil Rights Act wasn't signed, and so sports was still segregated. So if you can't see the link between the last time you guys could win something was when only white people were allowed in changing rooms, then you're never going to see it. So,
and can I just say, actually, England won 2 years ago. But anyway, go on.
Lionesses did win. Let me just rewind it. And you know what? I can see that fact that people that were able to put away their egos, and as usual, if you want something done right, get a woman to do it. Just tell Joey Barton that. Me, I'm convinced. So he's the one fighting this losing battle, even though he was never picked for the squad. But that I can remember doing anything.
The man them.
The Lions, we came close, but no cigar, lads. But we will regroup and come back stronger, I guess.
We will.
When I say we, you know who the we is. It's not all a we, some a we, if you get we. But yeah, man, those of you don't take it on too personally, and I hope you guys have been able to return back to work, not being sore losers, and looking forward to the future. As second time that England's reached the final, we should be on a good trajectory, guys. We'll see how it turns out. Not too much about it because I don't get paid to, so you get me. That's it. We just kind of way.
Unless someone wants to pay us, and then we will.
If you want to pay us, then yeah, man, it'll be England all the time. I could write thing. So
England. There we go.
So to finish on Trips 24 being like, if it wasn't for you guys, we will be having a day off today. Trips 24 hour. We both know that you don't have a job. Come on, buddy.
Exactly. Like projected. Man's on live.
And that's
at nearly 2:00, pretending he's got a job. We'd have a day off today, sweetheart. You don't have a job.
You ain't got a job.
The fake immigrants took it. You didn't pass the spelling test.
Yeah. Because you can't even spell Robinsons, and so no squash for you. But yeah, this brings us to the end of the Lunchtime Live. Just leaves me to say, first of all, thank you very much to yourself, Z, for joining me on the live and helping me to.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure. For those of you who stuck with us during the live, thank you very much for continuing to support us. We are going to be back again this Friday with more pop culture and political stories for your perusal, sourced by us, curated by us, and presented by us in an unabashed, uncensored way that you will not hear on any of your political formats in the mainstream media. We tell it like it is, and we don't suck big old blue and pink veiny right-wing dick. So, yeah, it's disgusting as it sounds, but that's it. We keep it raw. Thank you very much for supporting, guys. If you have any stories that you think would be relevant to the live, please do feel free to get in touch with myself and or Z. And watch out for the next live this Friday. Thank you very much.
Adios.
Bye.